Good evening and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Red Pen webinar series. Once again, we bring to you a very, very interesting webinar in regard to postgraduate study to international universities. If you are a first year, second year, third year, or a rising senior in an undergraduate college right now and are considering graduate study for fall 2024 or spring 25, and so on and so forth, then you are definitely in the right place. You've logged into the right webinar. We are going to start the session in exactly 30 seconds from now. We're kind of just waiting for a couple of more people to sign in, just waiting for the crowd to come in, settle down, and then we shall be ready to begin. But yeah, so hang in there, grab your cup of coffee if you're a coffee person in the morning, or tea, whatever works for you. And then we're going to start in about 30 seconds from now. All right, so let's get started. I am going to actually begin this session assuming that you are currently a college student. You're either in your second or third year of college, or maybe final year you're going into. If that is not the case, and you are actually someone who's finished college, you finished your bachelor's degree, and you're currently working and considering graduate studies internationally, then leave me a message in the Q&A box, because then, I may want to talk to you a little more about things that matter for your profile specifically. But up until then, until nobody messages me, I'm just going to assume that everybody here is in fact a college student who's either doing a 3-year degree or a 4-year degree. Now, as a part of the Red Pen team, we constantly meet admission officers. We are constantly interacting with people uh, who are decision makers at the university level. So the information that we bring to you is the most unbiased, the most objective, and the most first-hand from these international universities. So today we're going to talk about whether a 3-year undergraduate degree is enough to get you the right admission in the right program at the right country, or do you need 4 years of undergraduate study? And if you do, then what are you going to do about it? How do you go about it? That's something we're going to talk about today. Before we start, let me kind of give you a visual of the landscape of undergraduate study in India first. All right. So what we have in India, one part of what we study in India on an undergrad, by undergrad, I mean after 12th, right? So you finish your 10 years of education, first standard to 10th standard, then you do 10 plus 2, then you do 11, 12 standard. So that's completely done. Whether you do CBSE, ICSE, IB, or SSE, or state board, it doesn't matter. And then the years that you study in college after that for your bachelor's degree are called undergraduate study. All right. So we have technical degrees. Now, these technical degrees are almost always 4 years, if not 5 years, right? Now, you can see the three most popular ones that I've listed here for you. But of course, there's more, right? There's dentistry, there's also physiotherapy that is really long term. So there's Bachelor of Technology, which is basically engineering. MBBS is medicine. The study of medicine is 5 years. And then there is LLB. And law is, if you are somebody who studied law, I don't really need to explain this to you, but typically law within the new course is the 5-year program where you get 2 degrees at the end of the 5 years. You get a LLB, which is the study of law, the bachelor's degree in law, but you also get with that either a bachelor's of arts or a bachelor's of commerce or a bachelor's of science, depending on the subject combination you've taken at the college. So this is a new course in law, but there are others as well. And then we have our non-technical degrees, right? Which is your bachelor's of arts, bachelor's of commerce, bachelor of science, bachelor of business administration, management studies, mass media. There are so many, BVOC, bachelor's in vocational studies. So there are so many, right? And this is also of two types, right? Now, the first category, everybody's aware of. The second category is fairly new, but some of you might be studying there. So we have the conventional or state or private universities, right? And this is where if you are doing engineering, then you would have given the CET, the state or the national level entrance exams, and then you've gotten in for a 4-year program. But if you are doing a non-conventional, if you're doing a non-technical degree, if you're doing Bachelor of Commerce, then maybe you were a Jai Hind or Poddar, Ruia, or maybe Hansraj in Delhi, somewhere in Annamalai in Bangalore, in Chennai, wherever. And then you do your 3-year Bachelor of Commerce or Bachelor of Management Studies degree, right? These are conventional state or private universities. Then there are the private universities that are offering liberal arts, right? Now, by liberal arts, I mean, and this is important for you to understand because you're going to talk about that later. When we look at a state or a private university that offers a conventional degree, right? What we basically mean is that there are only one of two options that you have, depending on which university it is. For example, if I had to take Mumbai University and Delhi University, is two options, right? And if I had to study a social science subject, like if I had to study psychology at Mumbai University, I would do a BA in psychology, which would basically mean that I go into a college under Mumbai University umbrella. And then I do 3 different subjects in the first year, along with my languages. And in the second year, I continue those same 3 subjects. And in the third year, I either do a single major, which means 6 papers of the same subject, or I do a double major, which is 3 papers of 2 different subjects. But, excuse me, if I were to study psychology at Delhi University after my 12th, say I go to Lady Shri Ram College, then I would do what they call a psychology honors degree. All right, which means that I go into LSR with the commitment that I'm only going to study psychology for 3 years, and that's all I study. I don't do this combination of 2-3 different subjects. Okay. So that's how Indian universities are offering their conventional degree. Either they're doing it in the format that Mumbai University does its BA degree, or they're doing an honors program. And mostly you'll realize that in India, we do have the whole honors system going on, except for these few universities that offer this semi-liberal arts approach to education, like Mumbai University does, which is that you can study 2-3 subjects at the same time, and then at the end of it, you can choose which major you want to do. But that is, of course, not the case with something like a BCom or a BMS, right? Because every semester, your subjects change. Now, does the university only offer 5 subjects per semester? No, the university offers many more subjects. The college chooses which subjects they want to offer under them, right? So if Podar College decides that, okay, under my BMS umbrella, in first year, I will offer financial accounting, marketing, statistical analysis, whatever. And then the second year, so they choose that from the list of options that Mumbai University has given them, right? But though that choice is not passed down to the student because of faculty control. They want to make sure that they have enough faculty to be able to teach what they want. So that happened. So then when we are looking at a conventional university, it's very important to understand that they do not work on a credit system at all, right? But because they pre-decide what you're going to study. And on the basis of that, you get all the credits that you need to graduate. You don't get to choose it. Somebody chooses it for you, but then you get to graduate as a bachelor's degree holder. In the liberal arts college, however, when you're going into an Ashoka or an OP Jindal or a Flame, you have to declare a major, right? Now, those majors are multiple, right? Some of them are like as much as 50, especially when in India, that's a big number. So you go in declaring a major, and then after the first year, when you're doing your core subjects, now core subjects are subjects that everybody is going to be studying, whether you declare a computer science major or psychology major or a music major, it doesn't matter. Like your cores are your mathematics, your lab sciences, social sciences, and languages, right? Everybody's going to study that. And then at the end of the first year, you also, through the first year, also take some electives in your elected major. And then at the end of it, you declare you can either switch your major, you say, no, I want to continue with my major, and you continue the next 2 years in your major, right? That's the core of liberal arts, which is that students at 18 who've just finished grade 12 are too young to decide what they want to study. So we give them that 1 year. Sure, they can declare a major going in, but we'll also give them the flexibility to switch a major should they want to. That's a liberal arts approach, right? Now, here is where they start empowering students to kind of make sure that they have the right credits to graduate, right? They tell you to match your credits. They tell you how many credits you need in first semester and how many you need in second semester to graduate. They also tell you that, oh, you can't take this coursework because you don't have enough credits in the previous coursework. So students start understanding that there is a course load, there is a number, there is a weight attached to each module that I study in college. And I have to study enough modules which together will earn me a bachelor's degree, right? The conventional, the university does the heavy lifting for you. They do the decision making. Here, you have to pick your modules in a way that all your credits eventually add up to enough credits to graduate. Okay, now just remember this thought because later we're going to talk about credits again. So it's just important to give you that context, right? So everybody's understood the technical and the non-technical differentiation in India. And now we compare it to the types of undergraduate degrees outside of India. Okay, outside of India, it'll be very easy to understand it if you just look at it from a country perspective. All right. Um, in broader terms, North America does undergraduate for 4 years, right? So remember what I said to you about liberal arts, which is in India 1 year, then after 1 year, you can revisit your major. America, they do it for 2 years, so North America. So in Canada, but also in USA, right? And USA is far more flexible in terms of switching that major around. Canada, not so much. So what happens is you do 2 years of your course and some part of your major option also. And then at the second year, you can also switch your major out and switch to your minor or add a minor and things like that. Right? That's a pure liberal arts approach. And honestly, that's what made America what it is in terms of undergraduate study, because they did liberal arts well. And of course, I mean, now India does it, Netherlands does it, but America is the pioneer of liberal arts education. Whereas the rest of the world, and you'll notice a lot of these countries are people who were colonies of the British Empire. We do a very typical way of doing our undergraduate study, which is an honors system, right? 3 years, you just do the same thing and that's it. Don't ask me any other questions. So you go to Singapore to do psychology, you do 3 years of psychology. Delhi University, like I explained to you, 3 years of psychology. UK, 3 years of psychology. Australia, 3 years of psychology. So it's very similar, right? Only North America, there's slight variation there. And of course, then there are these some programs which across the US or in the UK or in Singapore, wherever, could be integrated programs, right? Where somebody goes in for a bachelor's but continues into their major, right? In fact, one of the founders of the Red Pen has an integrated bachelor's and master's combined from a leading university in the UK. So you could typically do an integrated program and you could do an M engineering, like a B engineering and an M engineering together integrated. You could do it in psychology. You can do it in various subjects, right? You could just do a integrated bachelor's and master's program. And a lot of US, not a lot, but some US universities even in fact have certain master's programs exclusively only for their undergraduate students. They won't allow outside university students to apply for those graduate programs. So that's the third option, but we're not really focused on that. This is just to give you an understanding of how they do their undergraduate degrees abroad. Now, so if I took, and this is a screenshot kind of a slide, please go ahead and take a picture of this slide so you know which countries you're looking at, right? Now, the key parameter in this slide is the last bullet point, which actually tells you that some US colleges and universities also accept 3 years. And we will talk about this a little bit. But it is important to know that they are very few in number and it is not the norm. Okay, because remember, their undergraduate degree is 4 years. So it is like me telling you that, listen, in India, our board exam is not in 10th and 12th, it's in 11th standard. So we are finished school in 11th, and then I go to a university in India, and suppose I've studied in West Bengal and I go to Maharashtra, and in West Bengal I finished school in 11th standard and I go to Mumbai University, I go to St. Xavier's College, and I say, listen, you need to take me for first year of college because I have completed my school in 11 years. And they look at my report card and they're like, no, I'm sorry, but we don't consider you eligible because in Maharashtra, you need 12 years. Okay, first grade to 12th. And I'm looking at them and saying, no, but I've done 11. No, because my state expects me to do 11. So I've done it. So now you must accept me. They're not going to, because as per their standardization, I'm not eligible. I haven't completed that 12-year requirement, right? So similarly, because the United States studies undergraduate for 4 years, they don't, as a norm, they don't consider 3-year undergraduate degree as a graduate. All right. Of course, there are exceptions, and we're going to talk about that. But as a norm, they don't. Okay, especially from India. Now, because we're talking about the US, I did put in a list of some examples of really, really good programs that do in fact accept your 3 years, right? So go ahead and take a picture of this slide. And if any of these programs are a program that you are considering for yourself, then you could definitely reach out to them and make sure that you get the right information from them, verified by them. But yeah, it's on their website and you can take a look. And uh, the thing here is that a lot of these programs, having spent in many years, in the subcontinent, have understood the Indian system enough to be able to recognize that there are certain colleges in India or there are certain institutions in India which actually deserve to be considered equivalent, right? So over the years, having seen the level of rigor that some of the Indian institutions have, uh, these institutions, and there are some others like this, like Babson is not in this list, Claremont Graduate University is not in this list. So there are some amazing colleges in the United States that are not here for now. But over the years, having spent enough time understanding the Indian rigor, they have kind of moved away from that mandatory 4-year requirement for Indian applicants and other international applicants. But that doesn't mean that they are doing it as a blanket policy all the time. They are looking and focusing on things like what is your GPA? Okay. They are looking at things like what is the NAAC accreditation of your university and your institute in that university or your department in that institute. Okay. They are also very, very closely considering whether there is rigor in your program or not. Okay. So they're putting all these parameters together and then they are saying that, yes, we are okay to accept students from Indian institutions. All right. Now, over the years, what's also happened is that they've spent enough time understanding other systems as well, right? So a student from Australia with a 3-year undergrad or a student from the United Kingdom with a 3-year undergrad is considered equivalent to a 4-year undergraduate degree simply because they know that the rigor is there. They know that if a student has a first class from University of London, what is the level of rigor the student has gone through at Imperial College or whatever. So they are very well aware of that situation, and slowly they're getting aware of India as well, which is why a lot of these institutions have waived off that 4th year requirement. But you will still realize it's on a case-by-case basis, like I said, based on GPA, your institute's credibility, NAAC accreditation, and of course, the rigor of your curriculum. And for STEM related subjects, they are also focusing on lab hours. How much time has the student spent in lab work, in research work, and in quant areas of quant, right? So they're looking at all of this before they are making that decision for you, right? So what you will find is when you go on a website, is that there will be some options. One option will be um, if you are an international student, specifically from India, we need that 1 year additional or 2 years sometimes. Or they will say that, we accept all 3 years, no questions asked, doesn't matter which country, in which case, great, you can apply. Or they might say, we will do it on a case-by-case basis, like University of Southern California, Claremont Graduate University. They've clearly told us, listen, we're going to do it on a case-by-case basis because we understand India, we understand that the diversity of the institutions in the state universities is so much that a blanket policy cannot apply. And then, appreciate the honesty. You have to appreciate the honesty there because that is true. Each one of our universities is so unique, right? So in which case, you have to now gauge whether you will be eligible or not, or then if you definitely want to apply, you go ahead and apply, but you should kind of try and communicate with the admission team once to confirm that, yes, they will in fact look at it from a case-by-case basis. So then, obviously, the question you're thinking at this very point is, how do I know if I need a 16th year, if I need that 3+1, right? Now, see, we've spoken about what you're going to study, right? We've said that, okay, if it is a STEM designated, if it's Bachelor of Technology, or if it's MBBS or whatever, you already have your 4 years. So it's important to know your subject of graduate study, right? So if you have if you're looking at doing computer science and you have a BTech, then you're fine. You're good to go. You have the 16th year. Doesn't worry. You don't need to worry about it. But if you're looking at doing computer science and if you're 3-year undergrad of computer science, say from Ashoka University, then what you need to do is check your prerequisites, right? Because you want to study computer science and you'll be applying with people from an engineering background who have 4 years. So chances are they've done certain modules that you've not. So go on the university's website, check out what are the prerequisites that are missing from your transcripts. Make sure you cover those up, either, by yourself or within your transcript, and then you apply. So at least you're covering base. So that's just an example, right? But like this, you should first figure out what you want to study. Then know your preference for country, right? If you are very clear that, look, I want to study in the UK because typically what I'm going to study is like, okay, I'm studying politics and philosophy, and I will get a 2 year stay back in the UK to kind of find job opportunities in my related area. So then I know I'm going to the UK. In which case, you don't need a 16th year regardless, right? It doesn't matter what you want to study, whether it's STEM, non-STEM, doesn't matter. Or you're like, you know what, I definitely want to do sports management and I'm clear I'm going to Australia. Then you don't need a 16th year. But if you're like, oh, you know what, I am definitely looking at data science and I'm considering Canada, you need a 16th year, right? You don't make the mistake of assuming that Canada will do it case by case. Canada, especially with STEM programs, including psychology, which is scientific in nature, they are very, very rigid about the 16th year. So um, you have to know your preference for country, right? And of course, if any of you are, still confused at the end of this session, just shoot us an email and we'll be happy to respond. I'll share my email ID later, but we'd be happy to help you decide further. Okay, you want to study this is your GPA, this is your this is your country of preference, this is what you study, this is what you want to study. So yeah, this country makes sense, or 16th year makes sense, or what. I'm happy to do a quick response to that. And then I would want each one of you to get your credits evaluated. Yeah? Now, remember a few minutes back, I spent a lot of time talking to you about credits. This is why, right? Because you have to understand the credit system to be able to get your evaluation done. So how do you get your undergraduate credits evaluated? Basically, if you're applying to Canada or the United States, which is North America, overall, you're going to need a report which is approved or written by a company that is approved by the NACS. Okay. Now, WES is one of the most popular companies, right? And they've been around for years and years, right? Now, any university in the United States or Canada that wants a credit evaluation will pretty much have WES on their list of approved companies. And if a university doesn't have a list, doesn't have WES, then chances are they have their own credit evaluation service. So they just want you to pay money directly, or they are doing it case by case, and they're like, we don't want you to spend money on credit evaluation. We'll do it ourselves. Just send it to us. Okay. So go visit their website. They do have a free account. And then you can also do like a free GPA calculator service that they have. And then, of course, you have to pay money to get the service, get the evaluation done. But at least create the account and then go to the FAQ section. Okay. Now, once you go to the FAQ section, what's going to happen is they have a specific section for institutions from India or students applying from India. And then you can read all the paperwork that they need your institute to send them directly. So that at least you are aware that, okay, when the time is right, and by the way, the time is right in September, so that by November it comes through. So in September, when the time is absolutely apt, you are ready to send out your documents, right? And 99% of the universities in the US that you will apply to will want, and even if you're a BTech, right, they will want to see it. So you will get the eligibility because you studied for 4 years, or if you're MBBS, you studied for 5 years, you'll get the eligibility, but they still might ask for a report, in which case spending this money would be imperative. All right. So this is something you need to keep in mind. And also remember, this is not just for Indians. So like the British people also have to do a WES report, even though they are considered equivalent, they have to submit it as proof of equivalency. Okay, so this is a proof of equivalency kind of a situation. And the first question I always get asked is, do you know people with 3 years who've gotten a WES approval? Yes. We've gotten people with 3 years undergrad degree who've gotten their scores evaluated. And there have been many personal criteria that, have very subjective criteria that have gotten them through the process. Happy to, take you guys through it. If any one of you want a question at the end, and, if you have enough time at the end, I could answer it for you then. I could take you through some of the criteria that we've seen which have met the parameters. Also, I have actually created a video on WES. It's still in a raw footage stage where I've actually taking you through the whole WES website and how to navigate it. It's still not edited. It's still in the raw footage space. But if any of you are really, really seriously considering applying to the US or Canada and would like this, this kind of a tool, like to handhold you through the WES website, just let us know. Send us an email and I'm happy to share that raw footage with you at no cost at all, right? So I developed it to help students like you who get in touch with us for our counseling services. And I thought, hey, why don't I just share it out. So if any of you want it, send us an email and we'd be happy to share it ahead. All right. Now, so these are the three reasons why you would finally figure out whether you need a 16th year or not. Now, if you do find out that you definitely need a 16th year, right? Then what can you do towards that 16th year, right? How can you make sure that you get that 16th year? So I'm going to quickly take you through this section because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I will take questions on it later. And I want to make sure that we have enough time for questions. So you could do 1 year out of a 2-year degree from India, but that depends on what you've studied in the past and what you're going to study ahead. You could do a PG diploma, make sure you check the accreditation of the institution. You could complete your master's, and some people might actually prefer that some admission officers will encourage you to finish your master's instead of leaving it midway. Also, the United Kingdom sometimes become a good shoe-in because they have a 1-year master. So a lot of Indian applicants will consider going to the UK for 1 year and then applying to North America. Or they would just like do a PG foundational year for a year, which pretty much costs the same thing. But some people just want that additional year of schooling in a certain subject area before they go on for their masters. So these are just some of the options that you can consider. I already have one question in my Q&A box about the 4th year offering by state universities and should someone opt for it. My advice to you would be that, okay, so with regard to this slide, sure, go ahead and take a picture. You can read it at your ease. My advice to you would be, if you are getting to do the 4th year in the same institution, in the same subject that you actually want to consider for graduate school studies, then it's a no-brainer. Please go ahead and do it. It saves you a lot of hassle. I'll tell you two things that is the most important. One, it saves you the effort of finding another 16th year, right? You just have it right there in front of you. Now you have a familiar routine with this institution, all of that. Second, your recommendations come out as gold because you've been in the same institute for 4 years. You don't have to switch an institute and now build rapport with the new teacher. And I mean, if you had to, you would, right? Because that's what everybody has been doing up until 2023. So it's not like that's rocket science, but the fact that you have the comfort of not having to do it just makes sense to me, to be honest, if it's the same subject. Like for example, even Ashoka, right? So they have a Young India Fellowship, but they also allow their students to stay back for a 1-year PG diploma. Now, if suppose I want to study computer science, right, but I've got a major already, and in my 4th year, the only option they're giving me is concentration in entrepreneurship, which doesn't relate to my goals in master's in computer science, then I'm going to have to really talk to my counselor or think very hard about whether it makes sense for me. But it would make sense if I'm applying for master's in technology and management, right? Or management technology or engineering management. I did a 1-year concentration in entrepreneurship and innovation. Perfect match. So what is it that you're going to study? And whether it relates to your area of future study or not. And then absolutely go ahead and do that. I did see someone raise their hand. Go ahead and leave your question in the Q&A box. I am going to take the question. I just have a couple of more slides and then I'm definitely going to take your questions. These are the first few for sure. All right. What are transcripts? Now, the reason why I have introduced this topic, and especially like a question, is because every time I do a general study abroad webinar, at the end, students will email me saying, thank you, Miss, it was very informative. By the way, what are transcripts? So I thought, I'll just bring it up front and center. And the next very popular question that I get is about the timeline. So I have included that piece of information as well, just to make everybody's life a little easier. So let's talk about transcripts, right? What you get from school, right, or from college right now is report cards, all right? Now, a transcript is a more global format of a report card. The transcript has your credits per subject information in there. It tells you how many hours per week you studied a certain subject, okay? And it also tells you what were the core modules, but also what was the level that you studied them, right? Now, because there's a lot of grouping that happens, like this was advanced, this was extended math or whatever, right? So the transcript would ideally say the level of study as well. And it will also give me the rigor, the weightage that was given. It would also tell me what were my core modules, what were my elective modules. And every college currently in India, 99, 95, okay, 90% of colleges in India have their own transcript format. All right. 10 years ago, they didn't, but now pretty much everybody does. So if you just go and ask your college registrar for a transcript, they would happily give it to you. There is a fee attached to it, but you can download it or you can get a hard copy and then you can scan that and send it out to universities. There's no need to take like 15 copies like we used to back in the day. However, if your college doesn't, right, then what I've done is I've put in the 5 key points that a transcript must have. It must have your full name as per the passport, full name of the institution with its location. Okay. It must have what was the medium of instruction at your institution, the complete name of your program. It just can't say BTech. It has to say Bachelor of Engineering or whatever. And the subject-wise scores for all the semesters and also the credits per hour. That's key. So just make sure that your transcript covers all of this, right? And you don't need like every year you don't need a different page. Sometimes universities just give you one big PDF and that's fine. Don't worry about that as long as all the information is there systematically. All right, final slide of the afternoon before we move into Q&A. I love to see this time graph, in a reverse chronological order. If you look at March, May 24, which is when you get your admit and you start scouting for your visas, then remember the first quarter is full of final deadlines and interview process. All right, which means that ideally by mid of December, you should have finished all, if not, 95%, if not all of your forms and form reviews and college shortlist and all should definitely have been ready by then, right? So which means that if you start working now towards your goal of a fall 2024 admit, regardless of which country you want to study in fall, then you're going to find this process extremely enjoyable, very, very enriching and insightful because you will learn a lot about yourself, right? Because if you look at this slide and you just look at it from a bird eye view, you'll realize that there are a lot of complex components to this. We've tried to simplify it as much as possible, but you do need 6 to 10 months pretty much to do this process. So I would recommend that anybody who's very seriously considering fall 2024, get started right away, on planning your journey ahead. And then, by planning, I mean, hey, when am I going to give the GRE? Do I need to give the IELTS or the TOEFL? Do I work with a counselor? Should I not? Should I just work by myself? And then make those decisions now so you can get into the university research and resume process right away. And if you start in October, suppose you're like, no, I'll finish my quarter 1 exam and then I'll start. That's fine. But know that you're going to be working on multiple components at the same time. So it's not like you'll have time to work on the resume and then give your standardized test and then work on recommendation strategies. Pretty much you're doing all 5 components together. And that's fine. That some people are excellent at multitasking. But know that each component needs its due importance. And it takes about 6 to 8 months, 6 to 10 months to get this whole thing done. All right, that does bring us to the end of the presentation today. I did promise you my email address, so here it is. Anybody who would like the recording of the WES can have it. And anybody who has any generic questions for us, right? Like, hey, listen, I was wondering. Or like I said, that, you want to ask me whether, you qualify for a 16th year or not, just go ahead and send me an email and be happy to respond. On that note, I did answer somebody's question about whether they should do the 4th year in their college or not. So I have another question that says that there were 3-year bachelor's degree from a certain university in Chhattisgarh and 3 years of experience, excellent GMAT score, great IELTS. Which college will accept 3-year degree? Now, it really depends on what you want to study, right? If you have a good GMAT score, I'm thinking you want to look at business school degree. Are you looking at MBA or are you looking at a regular master's in something? Please elaborate. But also your IELTS, I mean, I would have liked to see the score getting better. If you have time for 2024, maybe you want to give another IELTS attempt. Okay, Jayani. If you have done 3 years Bachelor of Science honors degree from India and a 1-year PGD, then do Canadian University consider these? Yes, Jayani, you would typically be okay. Go ahead and do your WES evaluation. And remember, WES has a Canada option and a US option. So take the Canadian option and do your evaluation and then just have that in place. Okay, how about students pursuing in lateral entry in BTech in computer science. Can you just elaborate on what do you mean by lateral entry in BTech? I mean, are you talking about the BVOC route? Are you talking about a 3-year BSc plus 1 PGD? I'm a little confused. Go ahead and elaborate, please. Okay, then somebody said, does a diploma or certificate program done after my bachelor's qualify for 16th year? A friend had applied with a diploma. However, the US college did not accept and wanted a PG diploma and not even a certification. Yes, you are absolutely right. The US universities don't want a regular diploma or a certification. They want a postgraduate diploma. And that makes sense because you are already a bachelor degree holder. So why would you go and do something that a 12th standard student could do for their first year? So you must look at a PGD diploma, so a PGD. And if I'm just going to go back to the slide that I had earlier, which mentions that very specifically PG diploma. And I've mentioned that you must check the NAAC accreditation of the institution, or if it is AICTE approved. And even then, to remove all doubt, you can email the admission office of said university or said 2-3 universities and confirm that, hey, listen, this is the program I'm going to do for my 16th year. Would you accept it? And this is the accreditation they have. And then you will come to know whether they encourage you or they don't. All right. Does a 2-year distance learning PGD count as an extra year? Now, see, that depends. For the longest time, Mumbai University IDOL, Institute of Distance and Open Learning, transcripts were recognized, right? But I think 3 or 4 years ago, IDOL was being audited for its NAAC accreditation. So for a year or 2 years, they did not get recognized. So they wouldn't have been recognized. They didn't have an accreditation at that time. Maybe they have it now. But IGNOU, for example, doesn't get. All right. So you have to be very careful about which institution and, what level of distance is it. During COVID, of course, everything worked, but now we are in a post-COVID era. So things are getting back to the normal levels of conventional thinking, if I may add it like that. Yes, the timeline that I just shared with you is in fact for 2024 fall. So I know I can imagine it's a surprise because you're like, she's talking about starting this July for next August. Yes, that is true. It takes about 6 to 10 months of solid hard work to get this application going. So that's why this timeline. Okay. So someone said that I have completed my bachelor's degree from FLAME, planning to go to MBA. FLAME offers a PG, but the course for my major very limited. I will do courses from a variety of disciplines. Is doing the 4th year a good option? Okay. So here's what you need to understand. Okay. First things first, any half decent MBA, Masters in Business Administration from a foreign university requires work experience. Okay. Now, minimum 4 years. Okay. So Yasha, if you are going to work for 4 years, then honestly, the fact that you have a 3-year undergrad or 4-year undergrad, the MBA program admission officers don't care about. Okay, MBA. The same institute will care about it if they're offering a master's in finance or a master's in business analytics or a master's in quantitative finance or something. They will care about it. But for an MBA, because you have minimum 4 years work ex, they will not care about it. So if you are very, very serious about an MBA, you're going to go after 4 years, then yeah, don't do the 4th year. Work hard, get a really good solid resume going from a work experience perspective, and then you can go apply for an MBA 4 years later. So Reshna, I would love to answer your question if you put it in the Q&A box. All right. I answered this live. Okay. How can I extend my 3-year BSc eco into a 4-year? Now that depends on where you're studying your 3rd year, right? If you're at NMIMS, for example, right? They don't have a PG diploma option. So then you can look at Meghnad Desai in Mumbai or some other place in Mumbai. I believe, like somebody said, they have FLAME, which is in Pune, which is offering a PG diploma here. But if you are an institute that does offer it, then you can actually just go ahead and stay in that institute. You can also look at Mumbai University MCom or Delhi University MA, sorry. So you can do an MA in economics or an MCom. So that depends where you are and what your goals are afterwards. Can I apply during final year of my 3-year BSc, not honors degree? No. I mean, okay, can you apply for what? For your 4th year? Or do you want to? Okay, wait. If you want to study in a country that accepts 3 years of undergraduate study, then yes, you should be applying in your senior year because you're just going to start your senior year now in July or August. And you're going to apply this year so that you finish your final exams in March, April, July, you get your degree, convocation. August, September, you start your master's. So yes, you totally can. Sorry, I thought you were talking about doing a fourth year while you're doing a third year, which you can't do. Okay, understood. Okay. I have done degrees in tourism. Where should I do my master's in, or will I be eligible for job outside India? And which place? I think this is a very, very specific question. Maybe you want to get in touch with the team and the team can actually answer your question for you. So get in touch with us and we'll definitely, it's too specific for me to take it live. But thank you for asking me the question. Okay, what if after my 3-year in BA psychology, I get 1 year of experience and then go to abroad for my master's? Will that be a good option? Yes, it would be. But remember that 1 year work ex does not substitute for the 16th year that you need for North America. All right. So if you're doing that work ex just to fill in that 16th year requirement for North America, no, that's not a smart strategy. But if you apply to the UK, for example, or Singapore for a master, then you're doing it with 1 year work ex. You're definitely setting yourself up for success in the application process. Okay, if any university offers all 3 intakes for a particular course, then which one intake is most preferred? Can we opt for meeting? Of course. If you're not still in college and you would have graduated by then you can take the main intake. There's no stopping you. The fact that the university is offering it means there are enough takers for it. So that should not be the problem, a statement at all. DU, I am BA program Eco Math student, eligible for US, Canada. So which college in DU matters? What is the NAAC accreditation of your college, of your department, and your GPA, right? And if you get all this with the information and you put it into the WES website, you should typically be able to get some kind of a response of whether you're going to be eligible or not. Try it. Go to wes.org. All right, I'm taking last 3 questions before I call it an afternoon, all right? Okay. Pursuing a diploma, and by October, I will enter in lateral in BTech in computer science. Okay, so your question about diploma and lateral from University of Bangalore, your very specific question, please send it to me on email, team.pg@the.pen, and I will definitely respond to you very, very specifically. Okay. Transcript slide, sure. Somebody wants to see the transcript slide again. Here it is. Go ahead and take a picture. This is so that, you can read it later. And, if your college doesn't have a transcript and if they have any questions, then you can always reach out to the Red Pen. We would be happy to kind of, give you an explanation of what a transcript is so that your college has a better understanding. Okay, somebody wants to see the email ID. Yes, I will share the email ID with you in a minute. I'm just letting somebody take a picture of this slide. There we go. That's my email ID, team.pg@theredpen.in. All right. So, Ashoka doesn't have an NAAC accreditation, but Ashoka definitely has their paperwork in place because Ashokians have been, or Ashokites, I think you guys call yourself. Ashokites have been applying the last 2 years, right? With zero issues at all. So Ashoka definitely has its accreditation in place to some level in place, or it has an AICTE approval at this point. So that from a policy perspective, Ashoka is fine. You don't need to really worry about it. But if you are looking at North America, just get your WES evaluation sorted out, right? Just make sure that it's taken care of. And I don't know a lot of Ashoka students who get an eligibility in 3 years, by the way, which is why that fourth year becomes critical for you guys. But go ahead and get the evaluation in place just so that it's got all the stamps of approval. So university has any reason to ask you any questions. How can I do 1 year of a 2-year master's program? Yeah, so for example, you join Jai Hind College for MCOM. All right. And then you study the first year, you get your transcripts because you sit for the exams, but then you don't finish the degree. That's how you would do 1 year of a 2-year program, typically. I mean, is it ideal? It's not ideal, but if you're going to study master's in business analytics and you do that for like an MSc statistics paper, you have your prerequisites, it's fine. If you're going to study master's in finance and you do MCOM for 1 year, or MMS for 1 year and then you go, it's fine. It's not going to like make or break your application, to be honest. But if you're going to study psychology and you just do that 1 year, they might not find you rigorous enough to be eligible, right? So it depends on what you're going to study also. All right, this is my last question of the afternoon. Is distance or MSc ignore open? Distance would depend. Like I said earlier, I knew that IDOL was, but IGNU is avoidable. There are some distance that are online full time. So those also might be an option. Like I know NMI used to have some of those, but they're still waiting for their accreditation to come through. But in all probability, so IGNU stay away from. Open universities as much as possible stay away from. But if it's a state university called distance program, take a look into it. You might want to email a couple of your dream colleges and just check in and see what their response is like to something like that institution. Symbiosis also in the past has worked. It's not like it hasn't, right? But remember, these institutes keep getting audited as well. So you want to make sure that you stay on top of the accreditation, because if WES doesn't accept the accreditation, then the whole, it's a moot point then, right? So you just want to stay on top of the accreditation. And like I'm saying, the WES website, it has a list of all the Indian colleges if you go to the free GPA tool. So if you put in your college, you'll know that they are aware of it or not, the distance education department or institute or whatever. All right, Jayani, I know you have an amazing question for me, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to let this one go. Please go ahead, leave all your questions for me on team.pg, and I will definitely get to them, maybe immediately after the weekend. For now, everybody who's in a state or in a place where it's raining a lot, please stay safe. Everybody who's in a state which is very, very hot, please stay hydrated. Please, everyone, stay safe. Have a great and fantastic weekend. And I'm very excited to see your names in my inboxes, and I can't wait for an opportunity to respond to all your questions. Until then, have a fantastic day and an amazing weekend. Thank you, everyone.